Um, Welcome everybody. We have a small group. I thought we might have a few more than that, but maybe some people will jump in a little bit since it is just now 5 o'clock. Everybody can hear me okay? Give me a thumbs up, right? You can all hear me? Fine? Okay, great. We're going to first of all talk about the capstone project that's a part of your capstone course. Hopefully you've had an opportunity to look at that capstone project ahead of time from your other courses. Thanks to Dr. Gordon, we've gone ahead and embedded that into other courses that you've had already, and you've had a chance to see the structure of it. There is an exemplar in there in the information. I believe you should have had an exemplar previous to this time. Please look at that. That's a good model for you. The performance assessment, I'm going to give you a little history behind that, this little capstone project. Originally, when you did certification in the state of Missouri, you had to complete a couple of things. You had to complete a content assessment, and you had to complete a performance assessment. This was by state statute. In order to become certified as a building level leader in the state of Missouri, you needed to complete those two items. So with that, the performance assessment part of the piece of this used to be done by the Educational Testing Service, ETS, and it was outside of the program, and it was a 3-task endeavor that students had to take on. They had to pay $375 to take the assessment, and it was quite a task. The state of Missouri and the Educational Testing Service a couple of years ago kind of came to odds on their contract, and so Missouri was not happy with the test and what ETS was doing. So Missouri said, we're just going to not renew our contract with you. But on the state statutes, there was still this requirement of doing a performance assessment in order to get certified. So as an organization, all the professors around the state of Missouri got together, and we've created this performance assessment to honor that requirement that the state statutes have. So what's happened is this new assessment is a little bit less than the old assessment was, but at the same time, it's still designed to show your capacity to take an issue in a building, research that issue, develop professional development around that issue, implement that, measure the results of that issue, of your endeavor to address that issue, and then reflect upon the process. And that's what, if you notice in the 4 steps of the performance assessment, those are the things that you're doing. As you start in the 7 weeks, this is the end of your program. So when you're doing especially step one is so key because it will drive the rest of your other steps. So make sure in step 1 that you're looking at those prompts very carefully and you're very clear on addressing one particular issue that's been an issue in your building for quite some time. I think it's very important when you do your assessment to reflect upon something that's been in process for a while. You don't want to do your answers to these prompts in future tense, saying this is what we're going to do. You want to have it in past tense, saying this is what we've done and this is what we've put in place. All right? So if you need to, hopefully you've got something you've been working on throughout the program. You had me for Visionary School Leadership. Maybe that was recently or maybe that was a while ago, depending on when you started the program. But you can take the issue that we worked on in that class and develop the plan for, and hopefully you've had that plan working for a while and it's been in place for a while. Or you may have another issue or another item that you've been working on in your building for quite some time. And I would suggest at this point that you would go to your principal and say, or whoever the building leader is in your building, and say, you know, I'm doing this project. We've been working on this issue for a while. do you think this is a good issue to work on, or maybe even take their suggestions on maybe working on another issue and talking about the process that he went through or she went through in developing the history behind that, the research behind it, the professional development behind it, and the processes behind that. Because you want to make sure that that your capstone project is a report on what's already been done. Okay, so hopefully you're comfortable in what you've selected, and you're very clear in identifying that one specific issue in step one. We've had some students in the past that have tried to cover way too much in step one. They've tried to cover a number of different issues, and they wind up getting themselves in trouble because they're trying to do too much. They're not focused enough on one particular item from their school. All right, so let's stop for a second and see if you guys have any questions so far.
I have a question about the best way to go about writing that. Is it best to keep it in a Word document and keep all 4 steps in the same Word document? And that way we can just submit it as individual steps to you. And then kind of adding on to that, is there a place that we will need to submit this to DESE, or does it just get submitted in our course site?
Okay, Brooke, great questions. Yes, keep it in a Word document because that what you should have is you should have a template for it on a Word document. So you'll continue to add that, but then as you're doing the capstone course, Dr. Gordon's going to ask you to piecemeal that into each step. So you take it and put it into the Canvas course step by step. But yes, at the end of it, you want to wind up with one good solid document that has all 4 steps in it, plus at the bottom of each step, the artifacts attached to this, whether they're a link to something or whether the actual, just a screenshot of the artifact should be there. So you keep that, and then yes, you will give that to me. I will get it eventually, but we'll talk about that as we talk about what the next process is. Keep that in mind, Brooke, about where to go with that, because we'll discuss that in just a second.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions about what I've talked about so far?
Will
Dr. Keeney?
Yeah.
I would say that the one bit of email or the one common question I get, I've had a few people have sent me drafts of potential ideas or questions, and the stock answer I come back with is, don't make it too complicated. Don't make this process any more complicated than it has to be. What can you do, or what have you done in the time frame? What can you complete in our time frame? We are not needing to see some multi-problem with one-way ANOVA analysis. We're not looking for that, okay? And you are doing this as people that are working in schools. You don't have the brain cells for things that are overly complicated.
Mm-hmm.
So keep it straightforward, concise, clear, so that when I look at it, I can follow exactly what it is that you've done. And you may have noticed I put the rubric for step 1 above where step 1 is. And if you look in there, I told you, I'm going to be really, the word I use is brutal as I look at the rubric, because like Dr. Keeney says, step 1 sets the stage for the other steps. And so we hold a really tight standard for the submission for step 1, and then the rest is piece of cake. Okay.
And some other things that will help you in doing the performance assessment as well. Remember, it's evaluated. It's an evidence-based assessment. Evidence-based means the more evidence you give, the stronger your score is going to be on each one of those steps. So, like for example, in step 1, it says, "What would happen if this is not addressed?" And if you only have one thing there that would happen if it wasn't addressed, that's not very much. But if you have 3 or 4 things mentioned there about what would happen to students, especially if this problem is not addressed, that makes your response much stronger. And going back to what Dr. Gordon said, be very concise, be very close, right to the point. It asks you just for, a page double spaced. It doesn't ask you for a lot of writing. It just asks you to be right on point with what the prompt is asking. So focus on what the prompt is asking and address that prompt directly. But it is evidence-based. The more items you give, the higher your score is going to be. Okay? Zach, you had a question.
Yes. What would be some examples of some of the artifacts? I know some of them are more self-explanatory, like in the data sections, but what would some examples of those artifacts be throughout our projects?
Well, it depends on what the prompt is and what it's asking. And I think it's pretty, if you read over the assessment, the artifacts are pretty direct about what they're asking for. They're asking for, like, for example, how did you communicate your plan to the staff? Well, that would be an artifact for that would be an email that went out, an example of your email. The artifact, I believe for step 1, I believe a really good artifact is to show the student achievement data that's showing there is an issue in your building. Our issue is we have a problem with reading, or we have a problem with math, we have a problem with this particular skill, and the data that shows that problem. So I really can't go through each one of those artifacts individually, but if you read what the artifact is, what will happen is they'll look at your artifact, and if the artifact doesn't relate to anything that you're talking about in the prompt, that's bad, right? But if you have an artifact that relates back, and you even mention the artifact in your prompt, that makes it really strong as well. So as you can see below by this artifact, this is showing what our issue is, or showing what the prompt is talking about. Does that help, Zach?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. All right. So once the capstone, this is your write-up of this is probably the biggest part of your capstone. There are some other things going on in the class besides this, but this is the major project that you have. When you complete the capstone course, you will have one read of your performance assessment done by Dr. Gordon. He will score your performance assessment and give you 1 score. All right. The state of Missouri now is requiring that all performance assessments be double scored if you're going to apply for certification. All right. So let me be very clear about this. If you're going for certification in the state of Missouri, your performance assessment needs to be double scored. Okay, so Brooke, goes back to your question about what do I do with this? Okay, well, you have it in the capstone course, but you should have a good, clean and you could even do it in a PDF if you want to, that's fine, but a nice clean copy that you should save for yourself, because you might come back 10 years from now and say, I want to be certified. Well, we got 1 score, but we don't have a second score. And so you won't be able to go back into your capstone course and gather all the answers that you did for the performance assessment. So make sure that you have a good, clean copy of it and hold on to it. And you'll use that when you go for certification. You'll hand that good, clean copy into me when you want to go for certification. Okay? So yeah.
If we're wanting to get certified right away, then we need to get you to score it right away?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I'll go into that just a second. I'll go into that when we talk about certification, and especially with you guys, the new changes to certification in the state of Missouri this coming September 1st, because you got my email about that. So I want to go into that and be very, very clear about what's going on with that as well. But so as far as the assessment itself, hopefully that information helps you. Once again, I'll emphasize step 1 is so key to make sure that you get off to a good start with step 1. And then in step 2, you'll talk about the plan itself. And when you think about the plan, just like in that visionary school leadership class, think about all the processes in the plan. It's not just implementing the plan. It's what did you do to research? What did you go and investigate? How did you implement it? What were the steps to implementing it? very important, how did you measure the results? Set up a system of measurement to evaluate whether or not your plan was successful or not. Those are major parts to the implementation stage. So make sure you cover that as well. And that you have some professional development in there too. Don't go through the assessment without mentioning what you did for professional development. But a lot of people don't make the mistake of just focusing on professional development as your plan. It's more than just the professional development piece, okay? All right, so let's.
So I think Jorge, did I pronounce that correctly?
What now?
Yes.
Has a hand raised.
Oh.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I don't want to interrupt. So I am a outsider within my school, and I'm just trying to make sure, how do I go about navigating being an outside organization, working with the school that I'm partnered with, and trying to deliver the capstone or my project to them?
Okay, so you're not an employee of the district then, is that what you're saying?
No.
Okay. I would do it this way, George. I would go like this. I would go to your school you're working with and just interview the principal, the school leader about an issue that's going on in their building. Okay? And have you been able to be a part of that?
Yes.
Okay.
I meet with the principal once weekly,
Yeah.
so I do get time with my administration regularly. I just want to make sure that if I have something that's an issue, I don't want to do anything that steps on the toes of administration,
No?
because I'm still a guest in that building.
Right, exactly. And I understand your trepidation there. I understand that. But if your relationship is pretty good, I mean, you probably have a good relationship with your principal you've been working with every week, and just talk about. And George, in your case, not everything you have to do has to be from a leadership perspective. Look at it more from a whole perspective as far as the school is concerned and what the leadership in the building has done, as opposed to you specifically doing it. You've probably been a part of that process. Hopefully you've been side by side with your principal working on this issue. That's fine. And so you can take it more from, okay, this is what the school has done, not necessarily me leading the process, but me being a part of the process.
Okay.
Okay. You don't have to absolutely be the absolute leader in this. We understand that most likely your principal has led this plan to address an issue. You've just maybe been partnering with them or working side by side your principal to address that issue.
So if there's I do a lot of attendance initiatives with the school, and so I know attendance is one of the most important factors for this school.
Right.
So making my capstone directed towards that area, is that acceptable? Or
very acceptable. A lot of people have done attendance in the past. I would just caution you when you do attendance, don't focus solely on attendance. Make sure you make that bridge over to how attendance is impacting student achievement.
Right.
Okay. So say, here's our efforts, and when we were doing these efforts and to motivate for better attendance because we felt like it would help us get better achievement from our students, and this is what the data is showing is our student achievement data has gone up since we've done this, or maybe it hasn't had much of an impact, but making sure you make that tie over to student achievement is important if you're going to do attendance.
Okay.
Okay.
Please help me pronounce your first name properly.
It is George or Jorge.
Either one? Which do you prefer?
Yes, either one. I actually go by both.
Okay, thank you.
I get asked that very often, so.
Okay. All right. Any other questions?
And Molly, don't forget to mute because we get background noise.
Oh, sorry.
No problem.
Okay, so now we're going to bridge over from the performance assessment, the capstone course, over to the process to becoming certified. And this is a very linear process. Now that the state has made they're making some changes in certification, this really will impact you guys specifically in the fact that you have a lot of when they made this change, you guys have a lot of the program completed. All right. So under the current situation, up until September 1st, the state of Missouri offers certification, either secondary or elementary certification, either secondary, elementary, either K through 6 or 7 through 12. And so right now, as you went through the program, you've been working in a building that's either secondary or elementary. So when you guys go for certification, you'll go for certification in that area, okay? The process to doing that is a linear process. The first thing you're going to do is you're going to complete the program that you're in right now, this Ed Leadership Program. You complete the program, you get the degree. You've had one read of your performance assessment in the capstone course, so that's completed. The next thing you need to do is you need to get a second read on your performance assessment, which you do that by handing it to me, and I will take it out for a second read. You also need to complete the content assessment from Pearson. That's Building Level Leader 072 at this time, all right? So information on that content assessment should be in the capstone course. I think the link was broken for a while there. Is it fixed? Is the link now fixed to the correct place?
I cut and pasted fresh links.
Okay.
I haven't gone back in there to.
Yeah, but
It's supposed to be fixed. I'll
okay.
put it that way.
Yeah, it should be fixed. When you click on that link, it will take you to the Missouri Gateway Assessment site, and it should say Building Level Administrator 072. That's the test you want to sign up for and take. Okay.
I tried accessing it earlier and it did go to the Missouri Gateway Assessment page, but then it said access denied.
Yeah, well, I think they moved the site, and so we need to check on that. So we'll double check on that. So we'll fix that if it's not working in your capstone course. But where it says that link, I don't have it in front of me, but
Brooke, have you checked that lately? I worked on it late last week. I don't know
I
if,
just checked it and it still brought me to that access denied page.
okay, I will.
I don't have permission to view the page. If we
yeah, that's not the right link. So we'll get the right
Okay,
link.
I'll work on that. Okay.
Yeah,
Thank you for catching that.
Okay. Okay, now listen to what I'm saying very carefully about the content assessment, okay? The content assessment 072, go ahead and do that now, everybody. Do it now. Don't hesitate, because if you guys should work on getting certified before September 1st. I want to make it very clear that if you wait to take the content assessment, it's going to be very difficult to get certified before September 1st, for this reason. The content assessment 072, if you take it after June 28th, your scores will not be reported until September 4th. September 4th is after September 1st. So you cannot get certified secondary or elementary because that's going away after September 1st. So it's important that you guys get certified either secondary or elementary before September 1st, which means you need to take the content assessment before June 28th. Am I making that very clear? Ask me questions if I'm not very clear about that. Do you see what I'm saying? If you wait till after June 28th, then you can't get certified before September 1st, because the scores won't be reported to us or your certification officer until September 4th. All right. Jamie, question.
Yeah, I have a question. So if we go and take it, how long does our certification last until? Do we re-up it every so often, or?
So you've been listening to the urban myth, okay? Once you're certified, they can't take your certification away from you, okay? If you get certified and you don't get a job, after a little bit, your certification goes what's called dormant, okay? It goes dormant. That means it just goes to sleep. It doesn't mean that you are not certified anymore. Once you get that job in the future, you are certified. You just need to tell DESE, hey, turn on my certification, and you're good to go.
Thank you.
Okay. The urban legend is that you have 3 years or so, or X amount of time after you're certified to get a job, or else your certification goes away. That's not correct. What that comes from is a law in the state of Missouri that once you become a principal a clock starts ticking, and your certification can expire if you wait longer than 10 years to either get your doctorate or your specialist degree. That's where that comes from, Jamie. People have misinterpreted that to mean, oh, your certification goes away. It expires once you get a job. You get on a clock that doesn't start until you get the job. Then it starts.
Thank you.
Okay. But good question. That's always good to clarify that. Okay.
So,
One question I have is, if we're unable to get that certification before September 1st, what will we have to do in order to get that certification?
Great, Zach, because that's my next point. So let's say we wait till after September 1st, which I would hope none of you would do. But if you do, then the only certification available to you is a K through 12 certification. And the issue that you guys have is that you don't have the practicum hours under the new regulations to get the opposite certification. Okay, Zach, are you secondary or elementary?
I'm secondary.
Okay, so the only thing available to you is a K through 12 certificate. You've only qualified with what's required for secondary. So to get the elementary part of that, you'd have to go back and take a 1-hour practicum with us in that level to get the certification. You won't be able to get certified at all because the elementary and secondary certification doesn't exist anymore. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So if you wait till after September 1st, you guys sitting here, you guys in this capstone course, if you wait till after September 1st to get certified, you're going to have to take an extra practicum no matter what in the opposite level that you're working in right now.
so if you want to get basically the 7th through 12th grade, can you just add that class after graduation?
Yes, good question. You can add that at any time, but you guys are all going to have to add that on. Whether you want the K-12, whether you could add it on over the summer, but we don't offer a practicum during the summer, so I guess you even couldn't do that. There isn't that course not added, is not offered during the summer. But you can get the certification in what you're in right now, and then after September 1st or next fall, you can take the practicum course, and then that will get you, and that's all you need to do to get the add-on to the other level, because you've already taken the content assessment, you've already taken the performance assessment, you got everything else done.
So one other question. Yeah. So you just basically add the class and do it, and you have that opposite.
I guess the simplest way to put it for you all is, no matter when you want to go for K-12 certification, whether it's before or after September 1st, you guys are going to have to take an extra practicum because of where you fell in the program.
And then also, does this cross state lines? Because I know Kansas City is a border city, and so
Yes.
often opportunities come up on the Kansas side that don't come up on the Missouri side.
Okay. Well, the caveat I always put out to you is we cannot speak for other states. Our program is designed to get you what you need for certification in the state of Missouri. I can say this: our students in Kansas and Nebraska have had no issue in transferring their certification to the other states. Iowa is a different story, and Jay, that's why I'm going to talk to you afterwards, because there's some specific things for you that are different. But Iowa is a little different, but we haven't had any issues as far as I'm concerned. I'm not in working for the state of Nebraska or Kansas, but we haven't had any issues with that so far. And we've had a lot of students from other states become certified. Nobody's come back to me and said, hey, your program didn't get me certified in Nebraska. It didn't get me certified in Kansas. Nobody's come back to tell me that. But once again, I can't guarantee what other states will do. But it should be transferable to Kansas, because I think you're thinking, George, you're thinking about Kansas, right?
Yeah, well, I mean, whichever side has the opportunity, I'm going.
Kansas and Missouri have a reciprocal agreement. I'm a certified administrator in Kansas, and when I became an administrator in Missouri, they just transferred it over to Missouri with not taking anything.
Okay.
I don't mean to do anything. Okay. I'm sure it works vice versa too. Okay. So, those are the steps. Once again, let me review really quickly. You finish the program. You have the second read for your performance assessment. You take the content assessment, and then you apply for certification. Do not apply for certification until you have everything else done. Okay, because if you apply for certification before you take the content assessment or before you pass the content assessment, our certification officer is just going to come back to you and say, I can't process you because you don't have this done yet. So don't waste their time. Don't waste your time. Apply for certification once you have everything completed. Do that last, even after you get the second read on your assessment. I'll get back to you once I get your once you bring me your assessment, you say, I want a second read for it. We'll do the second read. I'll hand it back to you and say, here, you've got the second read completed. Now you can go apply for certification. So wait for that second read before you do it.
So with the second read, we can do the actual test, the gateway test, before we get the second read?
Yes, and you can do the gateway assessment test at any time. You can do the content assessment right now if you want to.
Okay.
You don't have to have the program finished to do the content assessment. So make sure you do the content assessment before when?
September 1st or June 28th.
June 28th, not September 1st, June 28th. Because after June 28th, it won't get to us until September 4th. Okay? All right. Any questions that you guys have specifically to yourselves before we let you go? And Jay, we're going to talk to you about Iowa here in a second. Any other questions?
We will continue to record, Jay, for everybody else that is looking towards Iowa.
Yeah, you'll continue to record, so everybody, because there might be some people listening in that are from Iowa.
Just to double check, with the certification transferring over to the state of Nebraska, is that once you've gotten the certification in Missouri, you said there's been no issues, or if someone just chooses to and skip Missouri and just get in Nebraska?
Okay, that's exactly right. What I'm saying is that Nebraska, Kansas have had no issues accepting our program as completing a program. Does that make sense? So what I'm saying is initial certification in Nebraska and Kansas hasn't seemed to be an issue. I can't guarantee anything because I don't run the regulations in those states, but I haven't had anybody come back and say, oh, Nebraska's not accepting your program for certification, initial certification. Iowa will not accept an outside program outside of Iowa for initial certification. Iowa's different. If you want to get initially certified in the state of Iowa, you have to complete a program within the state of Iowa. We're not in Iowa, but there is a path to certification, which I'm going to go into here in just a second for Iowa people. But Zach, that's a great question. I'm glad you brought that up because I didn't mention that when I was talking about being reciprocal. Yes, but then also they should accept our program. Well, it's up to you guys to go out there and find out, you know, what do I need to do to get certified using this program?
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I have a question about graduation in May, and if you guys aren't the right people to ask.
No, you can ask. Go ahead.
We on CAPAWS, it said that we will graduate if we're graduating at the end of the semester on Friday, May 8th.
Yes.
But there's no time published, and I was looking to see if I needed to take that day off or let my principal know if it's going to be at 2 p.m. in the afternoon or at 7 p.m. at night.
That's a great, well, I know it would be in the afternoon. They don't do it at night ever. Okay. So it's going to be during the day. I'm surprised it's not listed there. You can call the grad office, 660-562-1144. Ask them about that. They'll tell you what the time is for the masters, the graduate. There's an undergraduate ceremony. There's a master's ceremony or graduate ceremony. So.
They haven't set a time yet.
But I want to say, Brooke, I'm glad you brought that up because in your capstone course, there is a link there. You must go online and apply for graduation. Graduation doesn't happen automatically. You have to go online and apply for it. So make sure that you click on that link and apply for graduation. You guys are all in your capstone course, so you can do that anytime. You can apply for graduation now. But make sure you get that done. And then you'll notice on your degree audit, and there's a little box on your degree audit that says applied for candidacy. That's what that means. When you apply, that means then you'll know that they've got it because that's been checked off on your degree audit. Great question, Brooke. You guys are doing a great job. You're bringing up all the stuff. You're filling up all the holes here. Thank you. Okay. All right. Well, with that, I will, unless you guys have any other questions, we're going to let Jay hang on here and we'll talk about Iowa certification here.
I have one question that may be a bit personal. I'm in a leadership cohort for educational leaders of color, and we do things just in Kansas City, but I didn't know if that would be against the rules with the core subject matter.
No, as long as you're doing something in a leadership position, it should fit in really well with what we've been covering here. Yeah. No issue with that.
Thank you.
Yeah. Great.
All right.
Okay, in the future, if you guys have any questions, feel free to contact me, contact Dr. Gordon, contact me either way, and we'll be happy to answer any of the questions you have about this. I'm sorry this has gotten so complicated, especially for you guys, because of where you just happen to fall in the program and the changes in certification that's coming September 1st. So, okay. All right. Well, everybody else can drop off except Jay will have you hang around with us. Dr. Gordon, you stay on, or you have to stay on because we're recording. That's right. Okay.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. Thanks, Jamie. Okay. All right, Jay, I'm glad you're here because it lets us be able to go over this information. Like I said, the state of Iowa will not accept an outside program for initial certification in your state.
Right.
So we have been working with the state of Iowa. We've had a number of students that have been able to do this. It's a little bit task heavy. You got to jump through a lot of hoops, but it is doable. And so the first thing you need to do is get certified in the state of Missouri. That's the first thing you need to do.
Really?
The only way that Iowa will accept our program is if you go through and get certified in our state. Okay. So the first step to getting certified in the state of Missouri is there's a regulation that you have to do everything you talked about before, but you also have to add on the fact that you need to be certified as a teacher in the state of Missouri as well. Now, that's a very easy process. All you do is contact DESE's certification office, say, I want to become certified as a teacher. You fill out a form, and you're certified as a teacher in Missouri. You can transfer your certification in Iowa to Missouri very easily.
Okay.
Okay. So it's just that's the step. You don't have to do anything. You have to just apply, and that's it. I mean, you don't have to take any coursework or anything like that.
All right.
So you become certified in the state of Missouri as a teacher, and then you'll apply for certification as an administrator. In order to be certified in the state of Missouri as an administrator, you have to have at least 2 years of classroom experience. That's moving up to 3 after September 1st. But for most people, that's not an issue.
No, it won't be.
So once you become certified in the state of Missouri, then you apply to Iowa for certification. Greg Horseman at the State Department there in Iowa, he's their certification person. He'll come back to you and say, you're deficient in these areas. Number one, you're deficient in special ed administration. Okay.
I have just a quick question on that. If I have a master's in special education, will he come back with that? Because I do have a master's in special education.
Okay. Well, that would you already have a master's in special ed.
Yes.
It has to be something that says special ed administration.
Oh, that I don't believe it does.
Okay.
It's from
Iowa. Talk to Greg up in Iowa and say, hey, I've got all these courses. Would any of these be acceptable for you to accept this as a special education administration course I need. It wouldn't hurt to do that.
Yeah, okay.
But most likely they'll come back and say, oh, well, you need something that specifically on the transcript says special ed administration.
Okay.
Okay. But check that out first. But most people need that because
Okay.
they don't have your background. So that class is offered by us. It's offered this summer. It's 621 special ed administration. It's a 3-hour course. You can sign up for that class this summer.
Okay.
And have that step done, because that would fulfill the one deficiency from the state of Iowa. The other deficiency you'll have is that Iowa has their own training on how they evaluate teachers up in Iowa.
Yeah.
Maybe you've had that.
No,
training.
I haven't had it, but I'm familiar with the course.
Familiar with it.
Yes.
Okay, you need to do that training. That's done in the state of Iowa. That's done, and that's not. I don't even think that's a course. I think it's whatever you just pay to have that done, or something like that, from my understanding. Okay, and then if you want K-12 certification in the state of Iowa, you'd have to take the extra practicum that you would need also. Anyway, you'd be taking that anyway for the state of Missouri. Does that make sense? You have to have a practicum in the other area that Jay, for example, are you secondary or elementary?
I'm K-12 certified.
You're K-12 certified.
Yeah.
But
for PE and health.
Okay. But are you working in an elementary building or?
I'm working in a high school.
Okay, so you're lacking the elementary piece.
Right.
You have to take an elementary practicum. State of Iowa would require that as well for K-12 certification. Okay. I will say this is that we've had some students, and I will I'm always going to put what do you call it? A warning sign out there that we are not responsible for what the state of Iowa requires.
Right.
It could change at any time. I'm just going from what our students in the past have had to do to get certified.
So and I've spoken with other people who received their ed leadership from universities outside of Iowa.
Okay.
And I was pretty prepared to take those extra steps. I was aware.
Yeah. Iowa is not they want to gear you towards taking a program in Iowa, I think so.
Yeah.
But we have a number of students that are taking the course for our program from Iowa. So we're pretty familiar with the process. And it's just like I said, it's a lot of hoops to jump through, but it's doable.
Okay. So I need to make sure I get these the DESE certification, or that do I need to be a certified teacher before I take that? You said there was a test.
No, you can, and that's a good question. You don't need to be certified. You can take that content assessment at any time, Jay. Anybody can take it any time, and it's offered up in Iowa. You don't need to come to Missouri. It's a Pearson it's a test. You just tell them you need the building level administrator 072. That's the test.
Okay.
So you don't have to take it in the state of Missouri. You can be anywhere in the country and take that test. You just find they'll give you a Pearson testing center somewhere near you.
Okay.
Yeah. But get all that done before you apply for certification in the state of Iowa. Get your certification in the state of Missouri. Make it much simpler on you. They don't make them have to do extra work,
Sounds good.
But once you do that, take the special education administration course, and then take the training. You're good to go for be certified in Iowa in what you are certified in the state of Missouri, whether it's elementary or secondary. To get K-12 certified either in Missouri or Iowa, you would have to take the extra practicum to get that.
Sounds good.
Yeah. I will put it out there that, and this may be complicating the issue a little bit. I have had some students that have gotten a temporary certification from Iowa, and I'm not very familiar with what that is. They've been able to get temporary certified before they have actually been certified in Missouri.
Yes. I believe the way it works is they're like 75% done with their coursework. They can apply for a temporary if it's signed off by the hiring school. Yeah, and it's signed off by us. They send information down to us,
and we fill out information. So there is a way to get temporary certification while you're finishing up everything you need in the state of Iowa. I just want to throw that out there, that don't think that you can't become temporary certified in Iowa until you have everything else done. So you could go that process as well, because we had some students do that.
Sounds good.
Okay. Dr. Gordon, how'd I do?
Wonderful. What else can I say?
Okay, great. Well, like I said, and Jay, or if anybody who's listening to this recording has any questions, they can contact me directly and we'll get their questions answered.
Thanks, guys. Have a great night.
All right, you too. Thank you.
Thank you, Jay. Thank you, Dr. Keeney.
You bet.
I'll stop recording here.